Hey, how's it going? Welcome back, everyone. And we got one heck of a read today in TMNT, I guess, hardcover volume 3 / trades 6 and 7. So before I get started, definitely want to thank Andy for joining me here. Andy, how you doing today?
Doing great, man. Looking forward to this because this was, man, dare I say, more rewarding than the last two?
Oh, absolutely. That was like my first note to you is I feel like all of our criticisms from last time were just like thrown on the ground and kicked the crap out of it. Like this is what we've been waiting for, basically. So I kind of feel like everything they started building up in those first 4 or 5 arcs is just built to this, the City Fall storyline. So this is City Fall. I guess the trades call it City Fall Part 1 and Part 2. I think it was 7 parts total. But me and you were talking about before we went right on the air. I really wish I would have read this hardcover instead of the digital. So did you get it? You just stuck to the 2 trades, I'm assuming, right?
I did just the 2 trades. You and I bounced around back and forth a little bit about, man, it's good that we weren't reading the hardcovers because we'd be reading every miniseries and every little extra was in there too. But this is the first time we've turned around and said, hey, I wish we could have read this.
Right. Yeah. This, I mean,
there.
These 8 issues were so fast and furious that I kind of wish like I would have flipped this open, because here, I'll just read the back of this for everybody else watching to understand how much extra are in these hardcovers. So the 2 trades only cover 8 issues, 21 through 28, I believe, is all it covers. But the hardcover covers the same, plus an old Hob mini, an Alapex mini, a Karai, a Hun, a Bebop and Rocksteady. I wouldn't mind reading that one as well. The Shredder Micro Series one-shots, plus a 2012 annual completely drawn by Kevin Eastman. So this is definitely one of those times I wish I would have like remembered to crack this open, because I read it digitally too, like you did on Comixology. But it's kind of getting to that point where I think this is the last free read on Comixology. So I was just like, I wonder where I would be at in the hardcovers. So this would be volume 4 on up, is I guess where you'd want to start collecting if you're thinking about getting the IDW collections.
Yeah, I think number 8 is the last one that's free with unlimited. And you and I were talking about that a little, I think yesterday.
Yeah.
Where I'm going to move over to Hoopla and use my library card because everything is on Hoopla except volume 10 for some reason.
So you didn't have volume 10 either. It wasn't just my library.
Yeah.
Weird. Man. Oh, I'll definitely have to just use the hardcovers then. I hope I have that far. I think I do. So, but I guess we'll get into City Fall Part 1 here. And Andy, the first thing I immediately loved a lot better going into the first issue was more Kevin Eastman art. I kind of didn't realize he did some of the interiors going through this journey as well. So I know we were a little bit critical on some of the art last time. And here, I mean, they saved their main eventers for this run. You had Mateus Santaloco for most of it, but you had Kevin Eastman to start you off. So what did you think about the art?
It was very welcoming. As soon as I opened up those pages, I'm like, oh, are they doing like a gatefold cover, or is this just something extra special they're doing? No, it's just Eastman on the art, like right at page 1 there. It's like, oh, it kind of threw me for a curveball because I can't remember his name. San DeLuco?
Yeah, something. I think I just pronounced it Santaloco, but I kind of always forget. I just call him Mateus.
He did the cover. So the cover was a little misreading, really.
That's right.
But then you open up and I'm like, is this an awesome gatefold cover? No, it's just Kevin Eastman kicking ass right at the start.
Yeah, so issue 21, I was like, oh, thank God it's Kevin Eastman. Because I can't remember who the artist was. Like maybe Andy Kuhn did a few of the previous issues, which I think his works gets a lot better going down the line. But we were a bit critical last time of his art, I believe. But I do want to say a special shout out real quick. We got Comic Books NYC in the chat. What's going on, Kavi?
Yeah, I think Andy Kuhn came back in the tail end of 6 here, actually, volume 6. Maybe in the middle. I can't tell.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of filling in for sure during this. But we also got K. Titus Konnichiwa, my friend. How you doing, K. Titus? Nice to see him in the chat as well. But yeah, the story it's kind of like just the builder story for the rest of City at War. This, I think, is the only one that's technically not a part of City at War, because it's got the classic like let's be Yoda and steal Luke Skywalker's little flashlight and food. That's immediately what I thought when I read this issue, because Splinter, which I picked up, I thought it was Splinter right away. I don't know about you, but this Mask's figure catches up with the turtles when they're done training, and he just, he beats them all up basically and runs away, and then the turtles try to catch him, and he threatens to threaten Splinter in their new church hideout, and they're like, crap, we got to go save Splinter. And then after they get there and Splinter embarrasses him, he takes off his mask and reveals it's Splinter. So what did you think about this whole story? Did you pick up on the fact that it was Splinter right off the bat?
I didn't right away, because the first 2, 3, 4 pages, the first handful of pages don't really give you a full look head to toe of the character. It wasn't until I think it was page 4 or 5 or 6 or something like that where you see him break Donatello's staff, that you see his legs and his feet. I'm like, okay, I wonder. But I wasn't sold. You know what I mean? I wasn't sold.
Right.
So it was kind of, for me, I didn't read too far into it. Wasn't thinking about it all that much. So it was kind of a neat surprise when I got there.
Yeah. So he basically does that, teach him patience and all that stuff, and the art of ninjutsu. Like, the only one you can kind of tell when the only one who can take him is Leonardo. It's probably got to be Splinter or Shredder, or one of the other ones. But it kind of does build up the importance of Leonardo to the whole team, in my opinion. At the very least, the issue kind of does that. Because other than that, we really don't get to the crux of the City at War storyline until issue, I think, 22 was what it was. And that's where it starts off with Raph and Casey. They're just hanging out on the streets. Boring night. And then the Foot Clan strikes big, and they end up trying to kidnap Raph, but instead they get Casey. You think things aren't going the Foot Clan's way because they don't have Raph, but Shredder reveals it's going exactly to plan. So what did you think of the start of actual City Fall?
Well, right before the start of City Fall, we get delivered a pretty important character. Right at the tail end of chapter 1 in the volume, and then the beginning of chapter 2. And if I'm pronouncing this correctly, is it Kitsune?
Oh yeah, I think I call her Kitsune.
Kitsune?
I'm not sure.
So I don't have any understanding of this character actually from TMNT reading in the past at all. So I don't know where this character kind of falls in the universe, but she plays a pretty large role coming up here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know a ton more about Kitsune outside of the IDW run. I know she plays a pretty big part all the way down the line at City at War around issue 100 time. So this definitely won't be the last you will see of Kitsune. She will be back in full force several points down the line. But yeah, thanks for mentioning that. I kind of forgot she was introduced in that issue.
They go back to like Japan and actually find a derelict building, or they were looking for this area, and it was I forget what Shredder had that guy there looking for, and he told him, you better be right, this is it. And they dig her up, and she's preserved.
Yeah.
So an odd magical essence, something happening here, and that's when you roll into City Fall Part 1. Now that's probably one of the coolest pages, I think, out of this volume.
Mm-hmm.
Kitsune and Shredder standing there. Yeah. It's like, that was pretty dope. And
yeah, I love the way they cut the City Fall story. They don't really do this a lot in the Turtle book, but when they do, it's pretty awesome throughout the City Fall storyline.
And that's not Eastman, actually.
Right.
That's the second page of chapter 2, and I haven't looked up to see who the artist was. But
I think it's Mateus Sanaloco again. I think he does most of this, which I really prefer his art. It's really grown on me the more of this we read.
Yeah, I'm the turtle heads are a little, I don't know.
I don't mind it. I think his art, and I'll see if I can kind of flip to an example here. And sorry, I'm using the physical media, but it's a little easier. But like, for instance, the way he draws Raph, he doesn't draw his head he draws his head differently than Donnie and Mikey. And I just love the anger he puts in Raph's eyes. Like, the bug eyes he puts on Raph just cracks me up every time. But like later down the line, you kind of see the other turtles, especially the two, because they kind of established at least once that Donnie and Mikey, well, Mikey's supposed to be the youngest, which you don't really think about too much, but they definitely make them look just a bit younger than the other two turtles, which I kind of appreciate that. But I do want to say hi to Comic Mag Musings. What is going on, man? How you doing? But yeah, I really enjoy Santa Loco's art for sure. I think, especially compared to the other artists that they use on the series, I think he's also just as good at drawing the human characters, which I think that's where a lot of the other artists kind of lack, is just drawing April and Casey and all the other characters we get kind of introduced to, especially like the Hun later down the line too.
I feel like there's a fair bit more balance here in the art, and he delivers a lot more emotion and facial expressions in
Absolutely
the scene from some of the other artists. Yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad at all. His Alopex is really good too.
Yeah, I agree. I think he, like, when we first met Alopex, like a few trades back, she looked completely different, but I feel like Mateus has really done a good job getting that look of the character that they wanted and continue to use down the line for sure. But what's this other clan called? There's a second clan here in New York that is those French guys, so they're all back. And that's kind of why I wish I would have read some of the extra material, because they're establishing that they are against the Foot, but the only time we really see them, they're at City Fall. They're just getting their asses kicked pretty much. So what did you think about these guys?
They were easily definable, at least by wearing the forehead shields.
Right.
But I can't recall the name of the clan either. And I wish I'm with you. I kind of wish we had some of those miniseries add-ons so that we could fill in some of those gaps. But yeah, it's City Fall. They get everybody going.
Yeah, and then obviously the main reason City Fall's so good is because, I mean, you get to see Shredder, and he's just, at this point, he is just not holding back. If he wants something, he's going to go get it. If he needs the Kitsune's resurrected corpse, he's going to fly all the way to Japan with his granddaughter and go and get it. Just like he wants his Chunin to be Leonardo. That was established in the previous episode that we did. And we got to shout out the Great Legend Show, man. How you doing? Since the Great Legend's in here, I'll give him just one. Newsstand. Big thanks, Legend, for watching the previous haul video. Appreciate you stopping by, man. But Andy, what did you think of the Shredder in this one? Because he's not holding back.
Oh, I absolutely loved it. I finally get the Shredder not holding back. I wonder if they were just trying to add to the suspense and building to this, but he literally grabs Casey and just guts him. That was a panel I was not expecting. So this is like, they're getting real. They're not holding back with this run at all. They're delivering substantially here. So Casey's like, looks to be mortally wounded, laying on the ground, and obviously it strikes a response from Raph that was very fitting and is told very well on the page, and he just goes nuts. He's like, I'm gonna kill him. He just loses it. He goes into rampage.
Yeah, I just love like Shredder's strategy here. He's like, I know if I stab Casey, it's gonna make Raph go crazy, and then that's gonna leave an opening to kidnap Leonardo, basically. So I just love seeing his strategy here. And apparently, according to the hardcover, at the end of this issue, this is where we would have got an old Hob one-shot. Why we would get an old Hob one-shot here, well, I said I might read it one day, but I definitely was not thinking at all about old Hob at this point.
Well, it makes sense to kind of paint and fill in a little bit more of the backstory that we're not getting right here in the run, because I kind of wondered where old Hob was, but it was a very fleeting thought, right?
Right.
Because he still plays a role in the series. Just
he does.
They just kind of use the miniseries to revisit where he was at in this time, which makes more sense when you're reading the book. But in the same fashion, I almost wish I would have had that miniseries now.
Yeah, so they cut I guess it's just to break up the action a little bit. And I think IDW does that thing where they feel like they have to put out a Turtle book every 2 weeks, because I'm guessing it's probably not the cheapest property for them to maintain. So, but I just thought it was weird. I would have rather saw the Alopex one here, maybe, because of what happens with Alopex down the line.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I still don't buy that face turn coming up. But yeah, you kind of get an issue where you see each of them in the hospital. Casey Jones being tended to, and of course Leonardo's getting ready to go through some sort of like weird Foot Clan ritual that's going to brainwash him and convince him that Splinter is evil and that his brothers have died. So but they also use the imagery of his mother to really mess with his mind. And this is where it gets like you get all these pretty beautiful splash panels. I think this is where another artist came in. I don't know which artist this one was because it's not specifically labeled in the hardcover. But yeah, what did you think of like this whole brainwashing?
Well, it makes a lot of sense on why they would go back and look for and find Kitsune and have her there. And she apparently is a shapeshifter as well, or that's what she's portraying to him in his mind. But yeah, it makes sense that this was Shredder's plan to do this, because at first when he talked about abducting Leonardo in volume 4 or 5, like that's not gonna happen. That's never gonna happen. Like actually not just abducting him, but actually turning him into his second in command. I was like, that's never gonna happen. No. Well, they played this out really well, and it makes total sense on why they would go and dig her up and bring her back, and why she has like this essence of magic and kind of voodoo-like aspect. And then this whole kind of nightmarish scene that he's in, where they're actually brainwashing him, was done really, really well.
Yeah, absolutely. I really much enjoyed that scene. But coming up is one of my first nitpicks of this whole thing, and that's Casey's dad becoming the Hun, or it was the Hun the whole time. So here's an example panel of Casey's dad. He's a drunkard. He was going to go visit his son in the hospital, and then he hears what's her name from the Purple Dragon. It's like, he doesn't need that deadbeat, whatever, loser drunk. And he just, instead of entering the room, he just walks off, and then you see him kind of like rage his shirt off later. It's like he turned into freaking Bane overnight. So without the use.
Not only that, but I mean, he looked like a completely different character at first. I had to go back and reread that.
Right.
His hair turned blonde. He like tripled in size. I'm like, oh, I would have been actually kind of cool if he got some of that mutant ooze too, but that's not what happened. He just took it upon himself to get clean and buff up and take over the dragons.
Yeah, so from my understanding, only 2 weeks pass like this until like you see Casey later down the line. 2 weeks. So unless there's like in that Hun micro whatever, unless you see him like get oozed basically himself, so I'm not sure what happened there, but hey, at least like in these like flashbacks, they kind of not the flashbacks, but the brainwashings. They switch back and forth on the art duties, and we do get some Kevin Eastman splash panels, which I love every time. So this is where they finally get Leonardo, and I just love like the last page where he looks like he's just being like in the middle of an exorcism there. So really enjoyed that issue.
I love how they swapped to Eastman to deliver that final nightmarish, mind-washing aspect, almost kind of like delivering the final blow to Leonardo. And then we are back to Mateo on the art.
Yep.
On that next page. And it's just super fitting that Kitsune is standing over him delivering a black bandana.
Yeah, absolutely. That black bandana comes into play several times too. So I forgot to mention, Old Hob knows where the turtles live because Slash is his ally now. So basically, he's like, meet me at this place at midnight. And Splinter, he's desperate when he's agreeing to things written on his wall by Old Hob.
Yeah.
So they go to this meeting, and Splinter is actually negotiating with them. He's just like, we will team up all together, blah, blah, blah. And then Old Hob's like, wait a minute, no, you're going to do one thing for me, and then I'll do one thing for you. And that's basically where Old Hob, he wants his mutagen. So, because he just hates humans at this point. He's almost like got that Magneto-like mentality where he only wants to deal with mutants. He hates what humans have done to him, especially his dealings with Baxter Stockman. He has just been nothing but screwed over by any of the humans. So what did you think about Old Hob being kind of reintroduced into the main part here?
I thought it was fitting. I thought Splinter kind of gave up. Not really gave up, but I think he bent over a little too quickly or easily. But I get it. They need Leonardo back, and this was his route to do that. But for him to agree to work with Old Hob like that and to trade eye for an eye, kind of, so to speak, it added weight to that situation, quite a bit of weight.
Yeah, I agree. And Old Hob, he wasn't, like I said, he's kind of like one of those characters. He's almost kind of like that Spike from Buffy type where you're just like, he's introduced as this like generic bad guy, and then he keeps coming back somehow. It's like, why are they bringing this guy back? And then they keep bringing him back further than that. You're just like, oh, okay, this character's not too bad. And they finally build on his origin and his character a little bit more. And then you're like, yeah, Eld Hobbs back. This is great. So, and not to mention that, you also get the team up I never knew I wanted, Michelangelo and Slash. So what did you think about Mikey? And it reminded me of Chunk and Sloth from Goonies.
Yeah. Slash is up there sniffing the candy bar.
Yeah.
And Mike gives it to him, and all you get is candy. You get a great panel of him licking his lips. And that reminds me of Slash somewhere else. I don't remember. I'll have to find that. That I think the page before that and that page was really kind of where I was like, Mateo's art was Donatello's head should not be that round, in my opinion.
Yeah, they do fluctuate specifically on Raph's head. It looked like he's the one who had like the most normal look. But the other two, like I said, Mikey and Donnie, I kind of like how they're a little bit more rounded. It makes them look younger, like especially in that panel where they're dealing with the candy. I just think they did a good job actually making him look like he's supposed to be a teenager, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They're supposed to be teenagers. So
I really think that team up is fitting, Slash and Michelangelo. Yeah. I mean, you're talking turtle for turtle, essentially, and just one is much bigger and stronger and just nowhere near as smart. I kind of really like that idea of Slash being an ally of the Turtles, and I'm really interested to see where that relationship goes going forward.
Yeah, they definitely like. I just like how even though sometimes it feels like they just throw characters in, it means something later down the line. That's my favorite type of comic book storytelling, and they do really well in this. So the city's just falling apart. Like the Foot Clan is making their one big strike because they have their secret weapon now. And I love this splash panel here where you get to see like heel Leonardo and his new get up, and he's getting ready to really double cross Splinter. He takes the blue bandana and just cuts it in half. So what did you think about this whole scene?
I was kind of shocked. I mean, they really full blow delivery of Leonardo's transformation into part of the Foot Clan and under Shredder. That full red and black get up. I'm like, that's actually really badass looking for Turtle. But it was really kind of heartbreaking too, because now you know he's gone. Like he's gone for the moment.
Yeah, and it's just he also has like this Wolverine gimmick too, where he has like the little claws that pop out. So I think they give that the Slash later down the line, if I remember right. But yeah, I just like they definitely like, put importance on how good of a fighter Leonardo is here. Like the other Turtles, 3-on-1, they don't even stand a chance. And I know, like, you know, Leonardo's probably not holding back where the other three probably are, but Leonardo just trounces him. And the only thing that really saves him here is Slash looking for candy. So
that was probably my favorite part of that whole fight scene. It was a little heavy on the heart seeing Leonardo and the brothers fighting Leonardo, and then that brought some lightness. Slash just comes cashing through yelling candy, and I'm like, oh, okay. There's still some humor in the situation because it got heavy there for a bit.
Oh, absolutely. So this is the part where you would get the Alopex miniseries at the end of this issue, if you were wondering. But I want to go into the chat because I want to say hi to Bake the Snake. What is going on, Bake? I know he loves him some turtles as well. Nice to see you in the chat, Bake. But yeah, this is where you would have got the Alopex part had we read it in the hardcovers. So there is some cool art in this. Like there's some polar bears and just a lot of good use of eyes. So at one point, I will definitely at least read Alopex because it looks like Shredder is not kind at all to Alopex. Oh my God. So and then actually before you even get the next issue, they also insert the Karai one-shot.
Okay.
So you get 2 one-shots before you even get back to the main continuity here.
I almost wish we would have had the one-shots and mini-series as we were reading through this because I feel like it would have added a lot more character development going through it at the same time. But I can see how daunting it might feel if somebody dove into this and it was just too much too fast. But I mean, we're kind of looking for that. We're kind of not nitpicking, but we're going for those details.
Yeah, and then like we get to issue 25 finally, and this is where we get Karai, and that's when she just irks. I think it's Savate or Savate, the French clan of anti-Foot Clan people.
Yeah.
So
S-A-V-A-T-E.
Yeah, I just pronounced it Savate because it sounded cooler in my head. I don't know anything about speaking French though, so that's what I ran with. But yeah, they seem to just be fodder at this point for the Foot, just to emphasize how good the Foot. So did you consider the Savate any type of threat at all during any of this?
Or no, not really. Filler? Not really at all, actually. They just kind of seemed like a pawn on the chessboard.
Absolutely.
Just kind of there for the game, but everybody kind of knew that in the end they weren't going to be hanging around for too long.
Yeah, so I think that around this point, I think this is where we get our 2-week time jump, because we get to see April and Casey in the hospital. He's looking better. They decide they're a couple now, I guess. They're kissing on that panel. And then this is where you kind of see how fractured the Turtles have become without Leonardo. Raph's being Raph. He's out on the streets trying to get facts, leaving the other two Turtles in the dust. Splinter has kind of just disappeared. And then we get, actually, it wasn't even a 2-week transformation. It was seemingly overnight. That's when we get Casey's dad turning back into old Hun in this panel right here, which he still kind of looks like Casey's dad, but later, like, he's on the Bane gas or something.
Yeah, and that's your introduction to where he has the giant dragon on his back.
Right,
so
yeah.
Adds a lot more depth to it. But right before that happens, if Comixology would finish loading some of these panels, you get a very interesting scene between April and Casey that adds a lot more weight to their relationship, so to speak. It's their first kiss?
I feel like it's their first, but I could be wrong.
So that added a lot more depth. You know, their relationship is still happening. It's actually going forward. It's kind of weird to think about April and Casey having a relationship through the series, but it's another layer. It's another really good dramatic layer to add.
Yeah, so it turns out Splinter is sought out old Hob, and he's ready to make some sort of agreement with them to try to figure out where the Foot Clan's at. And that's when old Hob's like, I need that mutagen. I got a bunch of guns. Let's go get the mutagen. We're going to take Slash and get it. And then meanwhile, the Turtles, of course, Donnie and Raph are bickering at each other like normal. Michelangelo, once again, has to be the peacemaker here. That seems to be his role with the team. Every time, the smart ones start acting dumb, he has to step in and make them smart again somehow. So he's actually the one that will go and figure out where the Foot Clan's at. But here's where we get, toward the end of this issue, we get the ultimate, left field reveal that was still pretty awesome. You get Bebop and Rocksteady.
Yes. That was freaking sweet when I turned that page. I'm like, oh, yeah, here we go.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering if I just lost the page digitally or something, because that's why I kind of wanted to pull this hardcover out and just make sure I didn't have a missing page, because you literally have the Foot Clan with Shredder. They're kind of watching, the Savates with binoculars. And I figured that's where it would have ended, but we didn't realize Karai at the time was the one who made Bebop and Rocksteady and the Mutants. So they kind of allude to that.
Yeah, they kind of subtly allude to that.
It's very subtle.
With Alopex, and then it rolls right into the just in case, and then you got Bebop and Rocksteady right there getting transformed. Okay,
so here's the one we probably actually need to read and didn't, which they probably should have did a better job explaining this. This is where you get the Hun one-shot.
Oh.
So they actually, I think, kind of explain how he goes from this, out of shape drunk to roided up Bane guy with blonde hair. So at some point we need to read that, because it looks like, and guess what? He has a vial of ooze in his hand. So I probably wasn't wrong.
Oh, okay. So all right. 2 and 2 make 4.
Yep. Yeah. So one of those times we could have used the old dial. It was probably in there, and we just kind of got used to reading over the dialogue box. It's like, check out this micro series or one shot, because there's so many times they do that. But yeah, it looks like out of all of these one shots so far, the Hun's probably the one we probably need to revisit the most. So yeah, there's definitely a difference in the character by the artist by the end of that one. So 26 comes around, and you start to see and I think this was the break in the trades, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. But this is where you kind of see Leonardo start to display some sadness for his mother, which you're probably asking yourself, like, how does a mutated turtle remember a human mother? And there's all that reincarnation stuff. It's coming back into the forefront around here, and what it means to be, what their spirits mean to them, basically.
Well, this is the first real sign where we see that Kitsune is losing her grip on
right.
Where instead of seeing her, his brain and soul is starting to fill in her void with his mother, and that's where we're starting to notice that she's losing a grasp on him.
Absolutely. And this is where you see the other turtles start to make their deals. Like Raph's getting that Purple Dragon's hook up. Mikey's actually gone back to the pizza dude and made peace with him, which is probably the best of the storylines. And then Donnie and April, they're going to go get some technology from this. What's the guy's name? Harold, I believe. Yeah, it's Harold. So this Professor Harold, I believe he comes back into play several times. He was actually in that TMNT Ghostbusters I read for October Reads, so he's a recurring character. But I think this is the first or second time we've seen Harold, and he's probably like in one of the micro series. I think it says in one of the dialogue bubbles. Other than that, yeah, it's just the French guys getting annihilated by the Foot Clan. Splinter stealing the mutagen, which I don't know if this is the same mutagen that they're going to use at City at War or what, but you want to keep an eye on that big bat of mutagen that Splinter steals for Hob. So a lot of action in this issue. Raphael
I really like the Leonardo fight scene with the Savate.
Yes.
That was the action in those scenes was very well put on paper very well. That was a fun little bit, because honestly, these two volumes are probably the most heavy with dialogue that we've come into.
Right.
So the fight scenes that happen are actually pretty welcome at this point. These were a lot more reading than we've had up to this point.
Yeah, the pacing is really good. I don't think we've really even mentioned that. And that's why I'm always a little nervous to read all those micro series and stuff, because I just enjoy the pacing of the mainline series. But I think this is kind of the point where, especially these last couple issues we're about to talk about, where it's fast and furious. Like, because you're asking yourself, like, why is the Hun the way he is? Why is Alopex doing this? So that's where, like, the questions really start to come up toward the end of this hardcover, or the second soft cover, I guess. It's just still weird to me that they broke them up like this.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the one main dude in charge of the Savate gets his hand cut off. And I like how you brought up the Leonardo fight scene, because it shows how savage Leonardo's willing to get, because he may have killed the guy if Shredder didn't step in. Because Shredder wants to keep him alive to use him as an example later anyway. So flipping through, I mean, you got the mutagen in Old Hobb's hands. It turns out Old Hobb put a bomb on Stockgen, so Stockgen is now blown up.
Uh-huh. That's what he used Slash for in the background, is they had Slash setting up those bombs.
Yep. And then you got kind of jealous Karai. She sees that the weakness of Leonardo is death, basically. So she hasn't actually seen Leonardo kill anybody yet, so she wants to use that to her advantage. And then in the hardcover, it actually gives me a cover I'm going to have to seek out and look for. And that is just basically Black Suit Leo and Shredder jumping through a window.
Ooh, so what does it say underneath that? Like, what issue?
It's the B cover for issue. Well, that's Bebop and Rex. I think it was 26. That one was. So okay. I know the one they haven't shown you is probably at the end of this hardcover is the classic Shredder, where he's holding up his claw like this, and you see the reflection of Casey. It's the swipe of the McFarlane Hulk cover.
Yeah.
That's like the other one I really want from this run. So I feel like they were even firing all cylinders in the cover. So here is where you would get the Bebop and Rocksteady one shot, apparently. So yeah, you get Bebop and Rocksteady as humans. You kind of get their story on how Karai made them Bebop and Rocksteady, I guess, and maybe why she chose them. So there's a lot of great supplemental reads as a part of this.
You're not wrong there.
So like I said, one day, and then you get, oh yeah, it was issue 26, because now we're on issue 27, and that's where you get pizza delivery chef Michelangelo. I feel like this was an action figure at some point.
Yeah, I did. I believe you showed that one when you cleaned them all up.
We got Carter Lee stopping by in the chat. What is going on, Carter? He says he's read The Last Ronin. It's really good. I cannot wait to read that issue tomorrow. So yeah, a lot of people stop by in the chat. It's just been Last Ronin all day. So I definitely cannot wait to see how good Last Ronin's going to be for sure. So yeah, we got the issue 27. They're using Mikey to get the intel. He throws a pizza in some guy's. I'm surprised he wasted that much food, but. I know, right? And then you got to get the big turn of the Purple Dragons when the Hun comes back and seizes back control of the Purple Dragons. And I guess we learned in flipping through the Hun, that's why he's siding with Shredder. He got that ooze. He's got the power. And he's just going to use his strength of power to fold to the Foot Clan because he knows what he doesn't want to become the Savate either because they have just gotten annihilated. So obviously if they don't get on the side of the Shredder, they're going to end up like the Savate and just be cleaned up like a mop.
That's a pretty easy trade for Shredder to do to just win over that whole chunk that now he basically claims a chunk of the city now as well. Whatever the dragons are claiming as theirs is now his. And it's all he had to do was hook up Casey's dad and mutate him.
Yeah, absolutely. So he cleaned up his act there. And then, I mean, Casey gets his mask back from his friend. I keep forgetting her name. Shame on me. But they team up. Basically, she's done with the Purple Dragons because she doesn't want to go against, the Foot either. Or she doesn't want to join the Foot, I should say, for sure. We got 90MF Comics. What's going on, Chad? Nice to see you in the chat. I know he loves him some Turtles. I bet you're looking forward to Last Ronin tomorrow, Chad. And then this is where you're kind of figuring more out about what's going on with Leonardo and all that. But we're not quite to the point where Leonardo is going to turn babyface yet. So they're building up to one last big battle here. So all those chess pieces you kind of referenced earlier, Andy, the board is set. They're getting ready to have this big battle. And then who busts through the wall? Bebop and Rocksteady. So when you think you have a check, there you go. You have like the Queen and the Rook show up at the same time. Luckily, April brought technology from Harold, and this is where the good fighting ensues. So what did you think about this, how all of this unfolds?
I think it was perfect. I think it was a perfect way to get these guys introduced into the fight, so to speak. And my favorite panel is where he's got the chainsaw that says City Fall on it, and then the sledgehammer says Part 7. I'm like, this was perfect. This is just like Battle Royale ready to go here.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, once this got going, like I know me and you, we've read plenty of things for modern men and stuff. And, sometimes we talk about how it's a little hard to get through some reads sometimes. Like this is one I couldn't put down. You guys I got to see how this all unfolds. And then I even like the next splash panel on the first part of issue 28, how they keep working the City Fall title into things, and they use the sledgehammer and the chainsaw of Bebop and Rocksteady to say City Fall Part 7. So I always dig stuff like that, and they do a really good job with the City Fall like splash panels. It gets a kick out of me every time.
Every page during this fight seems like an epic splash panelist page, kind of, so to speak. This battle in the theater is pretty epic. They just tower over the turtles and look like they're demolishing the three brothers. And Leonardo is kind of paralyzed in fear on the stage. And it's kind of fitting that this is all happening in a theater too.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, Bebop and Rocksteady, they're definitely presented like a big force here. Like if you watch them in the cartoon, you think they're doofuses. They're always messing up. They're always breaking stuff they shouldn't be. But here, like, they're like just two versions of Juggernaut, basically. Like you don't want to get in their way. Like, and they got a chainsaw and a sledgehammer on top of it. But the one person that helps them out that you wouldn't expect at all is an invisible cloaked Black Widow looking April, who has the little gauntlets that Donatello was going to use, and he kind of failed at doing that, besides just getting them in the door. But April, of all people, has subdued Bebop and Rocksteady. And then this is where Shredder starts to get real mad at Leonardo. He's seeing his family out there. He's putting two and two together. The version of his mother's coming into his head. And yeah, meanwhile, you have that whole fight on the outside we haven't even really talked about with the Hun, Old Hob, Casey Jones, all the purple dragons. So it's like you said, it's a battle royal outside. The Hun almost like kills Casey's friend with a stake, and then it takes Old Hob with a gun to shoot him. And Old Hob's also been shot.
This is where you really get vindication here, where Casey really puts it to his dad, and you really get to see him battle it out and actually fight him. And unfortunately, his dad's now a mutant, so he's got to work really hard at this.
So here's where it gets really interesting. And besides the Hun micro shot or micro series, whatever they want to call them, probably should have read the Alopex one, because you're waiting for Leonardo to jump in and save Splinter here. He's got the Shredder's gauntlet to his throat. And this is where I fully expected Leonardo to come and save the day. But no, it's Alopex. So what did you think of Alopex being the one to hop in here? Did
really
you see this one coming at all?
I did not see that coming. And that was a massive heel turn that I was unaware that was even going to come. And then you get a scene in the bottom of that page with, Yep, right there. That made me wonder, well, there's a lot more to this relationship than we even know without reading that miniseries. So something's obviously happening. We're watching something unfold that we don't have enough definition for at the moment. So that miniseries is going to play a vital role filling in that gap.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just kind of happy at least we get, good guy Alopex now, because she is one of the cooler characters going down the line. So I'm finally happy to see that she's on the side of good, and hopefully she'll be teaming up with the Turtles plenty of times going forward. And then you see like Leonardo's kind of just doing nothing that whole time, but Raph is the one who kind of goes up there and jogs his memory, and that's when he realizes his brothers aren't dead. He saw clearly that was Raphael and not whoever he thought he was fighting. So luckily they get his head clear, but they're trapped inside. But once again, who wants candy? Here comes Slash.
Busting right through the wall like the biggest WWE wrestler ever is Slash. And it's time to go. That's exactly what it says. Guys, time to go. Casey yells at him. And sure enough, they all start getting going. But hot on their heels, Bebop and Rocksteady.
Yeah.
So this is probably one of my favorite. I always say that. But this 1 or 2 page setup here was pretty epic with Bebop and Rocksteady hot on their heels. And Hobbs just says, because his response to them, you guys aren't getting away that easy. And he's like, we are. Yep, and just throws a hand grenade out at him.
Yeah, that's Bebop's like, I think I broke my spleen, and Rocksteady goes, are we still gonna get paid? So pretty good classic Bebop and Rocksteady there. Oh, it's also Slash who got Splinter out of there, who got his leg broke by Shredder.
Yep.
So forgot to mention that as well. But it seems kind of all in well, but the thing is, the Turtles, they had to evacuate New York, which means technically Shredder won the day, really, because he seized all the mafia and weird other gangs in New York. He's basically said this whole thing was a ploy to get Karai as his true Chunin, which he's done, because at first he kind of condemns her for making Bebop and Rocksteady, but then he's just like, I would have done that too. That's why I wanted to test you to make sure you were the right choice for the Chunin role. And that's when, all's well as ends well for the two of them plus Kitsune. So they've really seized their grip on everything, even though it seems like they might have lost. They really won the day here.
This is just fantastic writing, in my opinion, where they're writing Splinter in a way that he's kind of like a master of sleight of hand. He's like, well, here's my plan. And then when the plan doesn't go well, he's like, aha, I fooled you. My real plan was this. This is like the second time this has kind of happened in 7 volumes. I think there was a couple other things earlier that I can't remember right off the top of my head, but I'm kind of like,
Yeah, there's been a few because he did at least twice just in this volume alone.
Yeah,
with the whole bait and switch of Raphael and Casey just to make sure he could get attacked by Leonardo later and capture him instead. And then here where it's just like, nope, Leonardo was a ploy to make sure you weren't just a jealous little girl. You're going to be my Chunin all along. And she's like, yay!
So I mean, at first I'm kind of like, well, this is kind of a shystery kind of Shredder, but then I'm realizing now, well, they're writing this for a reason. They're Shredder's a lot smarter than I was giving him credit for with a lot of his planning. And it's interesting that they take the term Chunin and I feel like they're taking some bits and pieces from some anime a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah, so it kind of ends with, Hun, and I mean, he has the Hun in his pocket, Bebop and Rocksteady, the Purple Dragons, and all of the Mafia. He just kind of had to get rid of those French guys, but hey, they fell easy anyway. So I guess it's, it really does justify calling this whole thing City Fall because the city fell to Shredder. So it kind of ends. The Turtles, they're just, at this point, they need to heal up and get their minds right anyway. There's no way they could go have a secondary attack, even with their full forces of Old Hobbs / I keep forgetting her name from the Purple Dragons, or formerly of the Dragons. So they decide they're going to get in the old turtle van and take the whole family to Northampton, probably the same farm they went to in the first Turtles movie when they had to leave town from the foot then. So that's pretty much where we're going to leave off. Slash gets his black bandana and Slash gauntlet back from Leonardo. And yeah, that's pretty much where it ends. So a pretty solid ending here. The hardcover does have a Shredder one-shot to end this thing. So I'll have to read that at some point. Yeah, like I said, they're finally getting to that point where I felt like a lot of the micro-series were filler, but most of these I'm really wanting to go back and read at this point.
I think the micro-series were actually, some of them were we talking the micro-series from way earlier?
Kind of just in general, yeah.
Some of them ran currently with the series, didn't they?
All of them did, yeah.
They all did. Okay, so yeah, I feel like that was less about filler and more about character development without adding too much bulk to the series, like you were saying, without interrupting that pacing.
Yeah, and that was my kind of criticism when I tried to read the first hardcover, my original read, is like you'd get into that story and, them trying to find Raphael and then them getting their bandanas, but then like there'd be these cuts of like the Michelangelo micro or just be like him going to a New Year's party. I'm just like, that's fun and all, but I don't need that here. Yeah. Like I wish I would have broke it up. You get your issue 1 through 5 or 1 through 8, and then you cut later to that story. You just read it as a supplemental material. Here, I feel like they would have added a lot more for us to chew on, basically, especially with Alopex and the Hun for sure. I don't know about the Karai and the Shredder one. I'm sure they're going to be decent too. Like I said, the Karai one, at least the art looked pretty solid in it. So,
yeah, and I feel like when we're kind of doing like a deep dive, like this is my entirely first read through of this whole run, start to finish. I feel like with us talking about that and Chad and kind of sharing this, I feel like the miniseries would have added the other layers that were missing that we were kind of looking for. The bits and pieces, because I feel like we're looking deeper into this than what some other people might on the first read through. So I feel like we would have appreciated them a little more. But I think you're right. I think if we would have gotten the hardcovers and would have read through on the hardcovers and read every miniseries, I don't know that we'd ever get to the end at some point.
Exactly. That was going to be my other point. Like that would just be like so much read, because I mean that was literally the entire hardcover. There's nothing else in this. So the 2 trades we read is integrated into this, and it starts with page 1 and ends with the last page we read in those 2 8-issue trades. So everything else they threw in equaled 1 big hardcover. So that's how much that would have equaled if we read it all.
I think my next read through, I'm going to look for those hardcovers for
sure.
And I don't know, for whatever price they're going for, or maybe Black Friday sale or something like that going on where I can sit down and I can read them at my own pace as well.
Yeah, because I think I got most of these on in-stock trades, which you can usually get them for like around the $35 price point between Amazon and in-stock trades. Half-price books if you're really lucky. But yeah, the suggested retail price is $49.99 a hardcover. But yeah, get it cheaper online. Like $50 is a lot, obviously. So yeah. But yeah, that pretty much wraps up our review of TMNT for this week. And I don't know if you guys want to leave in the comments below if you've watched to this point. If you guys want us to keep going, which we're going to keep going no matter what, but if you guys want us to take a break and read maybe like a volume 1 storyline or a TMNT Adventures or something off kilter like the Image Run, if you guys want to see us review something different just to break things up a little bit, for sure, let us know. But Andy, where can people find you?
Hey, you guys can find me at the little @ symbol ComicManAndy on all your social media devices, and you can find me on my own channel, ComicManAndy on YouTube, where I hang out and I do some fun comic book related stuff as well. And you guys can find me on the Comic Core on Monday nights and occasionally Wednesday nights over there. And you guys can also, let's see what else is going on. We got Turtle Tuesdays here. Hey, tonight, JP's Budget Collecting, his channel, we're doing an indie read of Descender Volume 2 actually tonight at 10 o'clock Eastern.
Nice. I still need to read that one.
Oh, I think you'd like it.
Yeah, you can find me here, of course, Seawater19 at this channel. I'm still doing my October read through. I still got probably like, what, 4 episodes to go, but I got a whole playlist here on this channel if you guys would like to catch up on the first 27 episodes of October reads. I had a Tuesday night live stream, 6 p.m. Eastern tonight, so you can watch that on the rewind. And then over on the Comic Core, we had a fun review the other day of Batman Long Halloween last night. And then next week, I believe, we're officially reading The Immortal Hulk. Don't know about a secondary topic yet. Maybe we'll just talk about The Immortal Hulk the whole time. We'll see. Tune in next Monday for that. And then Friday, Comic Core Roundtable. You never know what's going to happen on that show. So tune in to find out for sure. And then don't forget about my subscriber contest. Big thank you guys once again for helping me get over that 500 subscriber mark. I'll probably be back Thursday with a contest update. I'm going to try to put another priority package together to give away to you guys. And last but certainly not least, tomorrow, I'm open around the 3 p.m. mark. Tune in for a Last Ronin review. So that comes out tomorrow, 10/28, if you guys are watching this on the rewind. The Last Ronin hits tomorrow, and I think it's going to be a huge deal. A lot of people are already buzzing about it. Every other video I've seen start to surface on YouTube from the Turtle readership, it's all Last Ronin. So there's going to be a lot of Last Ronin buzz. So hopefully it lives up to hype. I'll let you guys know what I think about it tomorrow. But other than that, big, huge thank you guys for stopping by. And until next time, cowabunga.